One of the more deadly conflicts of the post-Cold War era is the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. During the time when both nations were part of the USSR, several ethnic cleansing occurred, particularly in the region of Nagorno-Karabakh, otherwise known as Artsakh and inhabited by Armenians. The Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic had multiple times attempted to deport or destroy the Armenians in the area, and replace them with Azerbaijani settlers. From 1988 onwards, the calls for the region to unify with Armenia grew louder. They were largely peaceful at first, yet after pogroms in Sumgait and Baku in 88 and 90 respectively targeted the Armenians living in Azerbaijan, the cause of Artsakh grew more violent. This resulted in Armenia organizing the Gugak pogrom in 88 against Azerbaijanis. Both groups began clashing following the declaration of independence of Artsakh. By 1992, Armenia and Azerbaijan erupted into full war, beginning the First Artsakh War. Despite Turkish involvement on the side of Azerbaijan, Armenia emerged victorious following a ceasefire under Russian mediation and remained in control of Artsakh as well as territories in between until the Second Artsakh War began in 2020 when Azerbaijan successfully recaptured most of their former territory. Despite the Azerbaijani victory in the Second War, Artsakh remained independent. Yet, in 2023 hostilities resumed as Azerbaijan launched a gigantic invasion of Artsakh, cleansed the population and dissolved its government. A peace between the nations was difficult as Azerbaijan refused to let expelled Armenians return to their homes. Disputes also arose over detained Armenians and the Azerbaijani demand for a corridor linking the exclave of Nakhchivan to the Azerbaijani mainland. In August of 2025, both sides finally agreed to peace following American mediation. But what if Armenia had emerged victorious in the Artsakh conflict? Today we will go over how Armenia could pull off this victory and what the aftermath would be. The first change I will make is in Operation Goran Boy, which was an Azerbaijani effort to retake Artsakh beginning on June 12, 1992. In our timeline, the Azerbaijanis broke through so easily due to most Armenian volunteers having retreated back to Armenia following their initial success. The advance was halted by Armenian air power and with the Russian 23rd Division of the 4th Army, that was stuck in the region, being persuaded to the Armenian side. In this timeline, I propose that the Armenian government keeps their volunteers in Artsakh for longer, allowing for a quicker response to the Azerbaijani offensive, and keeping northern Artsakh under Armenian control. Another key part of the war was the joint Turkish-Azerbaijani blockade of Armenia, which prevented food and humanitarian aid from entering the country. Likewise, Armenia's only oil pipeline ran through Georgia, and as Georgia was also a war zone at this moment, it was destroyed. This left many families in Armenia and Artsakh without power and food during the winter of 1992 and 1993. Although shipments from the United States and Europe arrived in December 92 and February 93 respectively, going through Georgia. As stated earlier, Georgia was a war zone itself at this time, so this was a risky move by the West. Iran supplied power and electricity to Armenia, due to rising tensions with Azerbaijan. What change will I introduce here? Well, Section 907 of the 1992 Freedom for Russia and Emerging Eurasian Democracies and Open Market Support Act. Which is a mouthful, so it's often shortened to the Freedom Support Act. This act, and specifically Section 907 of the act, prevented the United States from economically assisting Azerbaijan in any way until they lifted their blockade of Artsakh and Armenia. In our timeline, this section had no effect until at least 1995, when Turkey was forced to allow humanitarian aid into Armenia via air travel, whilst the land border remained closed. If Azerbaijan struggles slightly more in starting up its economy, which isn't that unfeasible, then they might be willing to drop or lighten the blockade. Historically, peace talks in early 1993 failed as Armenia tried to take back Azerbaijani-held towns in northern Artsakh. But as you might remember, Armenia still holds these towns in this timeline. This means that the entire First Nagorno-Karabakh war from this point onwards is butterflied away and a ceasefire between the nations takes place. Since the war is over now, let's go over what we missed out on. In March 1993, only a month after the attempted peace talks, Armenia was attacked from the Kalbajar region of Azerbaijan. After defeating the attack, they moved into the region, taking it by April 2 and causing major outrage from Turkey and Pakistan, for some reason. Human rights organizations concluded that Armenian troops had expelled and taken hostage local Azerbaijani civilians, although no numbers were given. Surat Husinov was a former Soviet military officer who had control over his own Soviet ground forces division on the side of Azerbaijan during the war. After a falling out with the Azerbaijani government, he marched on Baku and took control. Armenia took advantage of the chaos to seize the regions of Agdam, Jebrail and Fuzuli. Azerbaijan lacked a lot of manpower, leading them to hire 1,500 Mujahideen fighters from Afghanistan. Azerbaijan denied these claims at first, yet Armenia was able to proof the Mujahideen fighters in Azerbaijan with photographs and correspondence. In early 1994, Azerbaijan used child soldiers in human wave attacks against Armenian lines in Fuzuli and Kalbajar, but to little effect. Armenia's success was also attributed to their will to fight. A New York Times correspondent who visited the region in 1994 noted the following: in Stepanakert, Artsakh's capital, it is impossible to find an able-bodied man, whether volunteer from Armenia or local resident, out of uniform. Whereas in Azerbaijan, draft-age men hang out in cafes. At the outset of the conflict, Andrei Sakharov, Soviet physicist and Nobel Prize winner, famously remarked, "For Azerbaijan, the issue of Karabakh is a matter of ambition. For the Armenians of Karabakh, it is a matter of life or death." As the Armenians had an unopposed path to Baku, a ceasefire historically finally took place on May 5, 1994, under Russian mediation. Yet in this universe this happened 17 months earlier. This alternate Armenian victory would have costed much less human lives, as well as preventing most of Armenia's violations of the rules of war, which largely happened in their Kalbajar offensive. Also, Russia poured a lot of money into Armenia from 1993, which wouldn't happen in this timeline, or at least be largely reduced. This allows for Armenia to grow closer to the West. Azerbaijan proper saw much less fighting, so Azerbaijan is unlikely to hold a grudge over the war. The same is true for Armenia, who might be more open to cooperate with Baku. With less Russian involvement on the side of Armenia, Azerbaijan can cooperate more with Russia. Western support for Armenia could push Baku towards the sphere of Moscow. Of course, the Chechen wars would still stir up more tension in the region, but for the most part Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Georgia, Europe and Iran are all in an awkward spot. Iran and Europe aren't friendly with each other, but both are close with Armenia. Azerbaijan and Russia are somewhat close, whilst Russia and Armenia are slightly distant. Russia and Iran are close, whilst Azerbaijan and Iran are rivals. Turkey and Iran likewise are distant too, whilst both are close with Russia. Georgia is friendly with Armenia, just like Russia, but Georgia hates Russia. This weird patchwork of relations would culminate in the 2008 invasion of Georgia. Historically, Armenia promised humanitarian aid to Georgia whilst also calling for the self-determination of the peoples of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, siding with both Russia and Georgia. But what is relevant to me is Turkey. Turkey sided largely with Russia, endorsing then-Russian President Medvedev. Turkey also blocked humanitarian aid from entering Georgia. In 2010, WikiLeaks claimed that Turkey was planning on intervening militarily on Georgia's side, yet whether this is truth or myth is unclear. With Azerbaijan much closer to Russia in this timeline, I believe Turkey would also support Russia more. As for Armenia, I doubt that their response would be that much different. The only change I can think of is Georgian refugees being granted asylum much easier than historically, but that's about it. Erdogan ends up becoming a lot more authoritarian as time goes on, following the pro-Russian path of Azerbaijan more and more. As Turkey becomes more pro-Russian, Iran starts to distance themselves more from Moscow. Most of world history will remain untouched until 2021, when Russia invades Ukraine. In our world, Armenia began distancing itself from Russia and the CSTO because of the Ukraine conflict. Here, Armenia and Artsakh side with Ukraine early on, drawing them closer to Europe. The most notable change of all, though, is with Iran. Iran infamously supplies Russia with drones in the war, which might not happen in this timeline. Instead, Iran might take the Indian approach of condemning the invasion whilst opening themselves as a Russian market for gas and oil. But this brings us to the middle 2020s, when historically the Second Artsakh War began. But would the war still happen in this universe? I think it would not. Plans would undoubtedly be made, but Russia would stop any plan so that Iran doesn't drift too far out of Russia's orbit. Iran is still relatively close to Armenia, and Armenia being attacked by Azerbaijan now would push Iran away. Armenia becomes of high value to the West, as a middleman between them and Iran, bringing both powers closer diplomatically. So there you have it, Azerbaijan and Turkey end up closer to Russia, whilst Iran is pursuing its own path, similar to India. Iran and the West also grow closer, although definitely not close. This is my first IRL scenario, and I know that I probably made a few mistakes or simply forgot to mention something important. If that is the case, please let me know. But for now, this was the end of the video.